Christmas is on its way, and it's great, but it's cold, often freezing cold. So if you're thinking of a wee escape in your campervan over the Christmas holidays, then let me share with you some ideas, in fact, top tips about how to stay gloriously toasty in your van. Now, I'm assuming the vast majority of you will have some form of heating in your campervan, maybe a diesel heater, maybe gas or electric from an EHU. But in this video, I'm thinking more of keeping comfortably warm when you're in your bed in your van, even in those wee small hours when we usually get the coldest temperatures. Now, I can think of few things worse than waking up about 3 o'clock in the morning, shivering with the cold. And the good news is you don't have to. It might be hovering around 0 inside your van, but you don't have to be cold. So, a wee Christmas fanfare here. Here are some top tips for keeping warm in bed. Number 1, don't go to bed cold. There's a general assumption that if you feel a bit cold and shivery, jump in between the blankets or under the duvet or into your sleeping bag and you'll immediately warm up. Now that's a false assumption. Your bed, whether it be blankets, a duvet, quilt or a sleeping bag, isn't a heating implement. The only thing that can make it warm is heat from your own body. And what your bed covering does is this: it traps the warm air from your body, so the more heat your body exudes, the warmer your bedding will be. On the other hand, if you go to bed shivering with the cold, then it will take an awful long time to warm up your bedding. I remember many years ago in a place called Baffin Island in the Arctic Canada, we were camping in temperatures of -30, and it was so cold we went for a jog in the snow, wearing all our clothing before we slipped into our sleeping bags. And the idea was to create some body heat that would in turn warm up the sleeping bags from the inside. Tip number 2, what to do if you have cold feet. You might find you're beginning to warm up quite nicely once you get into your bed, but your feet stay cold. Could this be your body's way of saying, put on a pair of socks? Well, actually, it's not saying that at all. What your body is telling you is to put on a hat. Now, that might sound a bit weird, putting on a hat to keep your feet warm. So here's a wee bit of physiology for you. When your body gets cold, it tends to cut down on the amount of blood to your extremities, your hands and your feet, in order to preserve as much as possible the heat going to the vital organs in the middle of your body. And if you're losing heat from somewhere, it's likely to be that part of your body that's sticking out above the duvet. Yeah, you've got it, your head. So what you have to do is cut off that heat loss through your head, and in no time at all, your feet will begin to warm up. Now, you don't necessarily have to put on a hat. You could use the hood part of your sleeping bag, or simply pull your duvet or blankets up around your head. Cold feet and maybe a cold heart were the reasons old Ebenezer Scrooge wore a nightcap. Top tip 3. Warm up your bed before you get into it. And there's a number of ways you can do this. If you're on EHU or have a good power bag, you could use an electric blanket. Or to be honest, I prefer this option: use a hot water bottle. And if a cold snap takes you by surprise and you don't have a hot water bottle or an electric blanket with you, pour some very hot water into a plastic bottle, preferably one with a really tight screwed lid like this Nalgene bottle. And this is my remedy for cold nights when I'm tent camping. I usually have a plastic bottle like this for carrying water. So I'll just heat the water up to near boiling. And boiling is too hot, you won't be able to touch it. And then I'll use the same water in the morning to boil up for my morning brew. And there's nothing finer than snuggling down with your arms wrapped around a hot water bottle when it's cold. Tip number 4. Microfleece blankets. Now, most of us wear fleeces of some description these days. I'm old enough to remember when they first appeared around the mid-70s, I seem to recall. First of all, we had fibre pile, and it was the first real challenger to the woolen pullovers we hill walkers and climbers used to wear. And the main manufacturer was a Norwegian company by the name of Helly Hansen. They were brilliant garments, absolutely fantastic. And their only downside was that they became quite sweaty and smelly in no time at all, hence their nickname, Smelly Hellies. And then a couple of American companies, one called the North Face, another called Patagonia, produced jackets made out of material they originally called bunting. Now that soon became known as fleece, and it's been with us ever since. And it's not only climbers and hill walkers, of course, who wear fleece. Everybody wears a fleece of some description. But I wonder if you know that you can also get fleece microfiber blankets. They're wonderfully cosy, and they're not at all expensive. You'll get one that you can use as a throw for well less than 20 quid. And if you wake up feeling shivery with cold, wrap one of these around your body and then get back under your duvet, and you'll be toasty in no time at all. Even if you're sitting around in the van during the long evenings, a fleece throw wrapped around you will save you putting on the diesel or gas heating for a while. Save yourself a wee bit of dosh. Top tip 5. Think about changing your duvet for a sleeping bag. To sleep warm in sub-zero temperatures, there's nothing better than a goose down filled modern sleeping bag. Now, a bag like this will keep you warm at Everest Base Camp, but be prepared to spend several £100s for that level of warmth. The good news is you don't have to remortgage your house to buy a decent sleeping bag that'll keep you warm in your camper van. Sleeping bags are better than duvets because they completely surround your body with no areas of heat loss. The best bags, mummy-shaped ones, even have a hood so you don't experience any heat loss through your head, the most common source of heat loss. Now, I do understand that some folk find sleeping bags a bit on the claustrophobic side. But it really doesn't take long to get used to sleeping in a sleeping bag, although it might feel a wee bit strange at first. Down sleeping bags, either goose down or duck down, are warmest, but there's a wide range of synthetic filled sleeping bags available now that are possibly just as warm as goose down or duck down. The difference is they'll be a lot bulkier and much heavier to carry, but that shouldn't matter too much if you don't have to carry it about in a rucksack. Okay, those are my 5 top tips for keeping warm in bed at night in your camper van. But there's a host of other things you should be thinking of doing as well. Be particularly careful where you park up for the night. Avoid hollows that might appear to be nice and sheltered, but are in fact frost sinks. Likewise, in beside those trees might be a good idea, but they might just stop the sunlight reaching in the morning. And here's an important one: avoid condensation as much as you possibly can. Portable gas heaters and some electric heaters can cause a lot of condensation in a van, and that can be the start of a lot of problems and a lot of issues. If you can, open your window just a wee bit, just even a chink. That's better than opening up a skylight vent, because warm air rises and you don't want all the heat in your van to escape through the roof. And if you're using screen covers, get the ones that fit across your windscreen on the outside, and that'll help stop condensation forming on the inside of your biggest window in the van. Now, I've had these windscreen covers that attach on the inside with little rubber suckers, but they're next to useless. They'll give you some privacy, but they won't stop condensation. External screens might mean you have to go outside to the cold to fit them in place, but believe me, it'll be worth it when you peel them off in the morning and your windscreen is nice and clear with no running condensation. And for those of you who use pop tops, if you want your van to stay nice and toasty, don't put up your roof in really cold weather, unless you have an insulated layer to wrap around the canvas walls of the pop top. These pop tops just suck up warm air and you'll lose heat almost as fast as you can produce it. Okay, so much for staying warm, but it's important to think of the body as a machine that needs fuel. Something that's worth bearing in mind is if you want to keep yourself warm in winter, it's important that you eat plenty. You've got to fuel the body to produce that heat to kind of keep you warm. So just to finish off this video on coping with the cold in winter, I thought I'd do a nice warming meal. And this is a meal that when I was a kid, we used to call it Cowboy Stew. It's basically sausage and beans, but this is sausage and beans with a little bit of a twist. My ingredients are these 4 sausages, and I've kind of semi-cooked these at home just to save a bit of time. Some garlic, and I'd probably use about 3 cloves of garlic. A medium-sized onion. Some baked beans. This is just half a can, it's probably enough. A tin of chickpeas. Some chili powder. This is not chili powder, this is actually crushed chilies. And to bind it all together, some tomato sauce or passata, maybe a tin of tomatoes. This is actually a Lloyd Grossman tomato and chili, and I've got half a jar here, and that should be enough. This is quite nice. I don't have to put so many of the chili flakes in if I'm using this, because it's got a bit of a bite to it, but quite like this stuff. So here we go. Okay, first thing to do is chop up the onion. Oh, it's making me cry. I'm not chopping the onion up too fine because I actually quite like the idea of some blobs of onion floating about in the beans and amongst the sausages. So that's it's kind of rough. This is a kind of rough meal. Cowboy Stew is all about being rough, out on the trail, out in the Wild West, even if it's just the Wild West of Scotland. Something rustic about it, I think that's the word I'm searching for. And now start opening up the garlic. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Actually, what I'm going to do is just peel these garlic cloves. Okay, rather than just chop these up, we've invested our pocket money into this garlic crusher. So you put the garlic clove in there, and then you close the handle and you crush it. And there's all the garlic coming through. That's good, isn't it? And you can just scrape that off into the onions. Okay, so I'm using 1/2 of the large version of the Ridge Monkey today. It's we find the Ridge Monkey a fantastic bit of kit. We use it for all sorts of things, from toasted sandwiches to baking pies, and it's great. And we thought when the Ridge Monkey brought out the larger version, we thought it'd be absolutely ideal. But we were slightly disappointed in it. It's almost too big, and we tend to use the larger version. Basically, it's a big frying pan. There's no point carrying a frying pan with you and a Ridge Monkey. So this is cooking quite nicely. So we put the onions and the garlic in here just to brown up a bit, and I'll put the sausages in with them just to cook. These are sausages that are partially cooked at home. Partially cook them because I tend to do a big batch of sausages at once at home, and we use what we need at the time, and then put the rest into these little plastic containers and put them in the fridge. And I just take off 3 or 4 of them at a time when I go off myself on little campervan adventures. So that's what we have today. So this is cooking up quite nicely now. And what I'm going to add now is just a few flakes of chili. This gives just a bit of a bite to the whole dish. That's probably enough. I did say I used this tomato and chili sauce, if you like. And that's got a little bit of a kick to it as well, but I like to just put a few extra bits of chili in there. This is a winter dish after all. It's a winter warming dish. So let's see here. Now that's not too bad. Let's see what goes in here next. Let's add the chickpeas. Now I've drained most of the brine that comes with these chickpeas, and I don't want it too wet and runny, so that's not too bad. So I'll give them a good mix as well. Now I'm going to add to those peas a little half can of Heinz baked beans. And I know what you'll all be thinking. It's just as well that I'm in this camper van on my own tonight. If you make this meal and you're sharing your camper van with a partner or a friend, make sure there's plenty of ventilation. That's all I'm going to say on the subject. We'll get that all mixed up really well, and once that's all mixed together, I'm going to add the tomato and chili sauce. This is quite a big jar. I think it's I don't know what size it doesn't actually say what size it is. I'm sure it says somewhere in here. Oh, it's at 660 grams, so I'm using about half of it. So there's about 300 grams of this chili sauce in here. I can't remember what I used the other half for. I used it for something the other day. It's quite a nice meal this to do with bits and pieces that are lying about your kitchen. If you've got some sausages left over, and you've got a little half tin of beans, and you've got a half a tin of tomato sauce or whatever, you can wrap them all in here together and make this kind of cowboy stew with a twist. Okay, now that's all in there together. Now what I'm going to do now is just put the other half of the ridge monkey in place and essentially just leave it to cook for 10 or 15 minutes or so. Okay, you can see it's thickening up quite nicely. I think that will only be a few more minutes. Yeah, it's kind of reducing all that liquid. And you can, if you like it a bit runny, then that's fine. You can start to eat it right away. Or if you like it a wee bit thicker, as I do, then just leave it a wee bit and reduce that liquid even more. So I think I'm going to give this another 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, I think that'll probably do. I'll just take this top lid off for the moment, put it to the side, and just some of this lovely stuff out onto my plate. Lovely. Not forgetting the sausages, of course. So there you go. How good does that look? Chickpea and sausage cowboy stew. Just a job for a cold winter's evening. So there you have it, and that doesn't look too bad at all. I'm just going to try a bit while it's hot. Bit of sausage, bit of the bean stew. Cheers. That's very good. That's very good. It's got a bit of spiciness, and you can feel that chili kind of kicking in just a wee bit. The chili from the tomato and chili sauce, and the few extra chilies I put in it. So yeah, this is it's a great meal for a winter's night. it doesn't take that long to cook. You know, it's all in one pot, which is good, or one side of a ridge monkey. You could always use a frying pan, it would work just the same, but this is good. So I hope you find this video useful today. Don't be afraid of the cold. It's a lot of people sit at home with their camper vans in the drive, won't go out in the winter because they think it's going to be too cold, but there are ways around it, as I've explained, and you can actually be nice and cosy and warm, even during the night when the temperatures outside are down to sub-zero. We have to get away from this idea of camper vans and motorhomes being tin boxes, like mobile fridges in the winter. They can be really nice and cosy, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to make them warm and comfortable, and topped off with a nice meal like this. So if you found this video useful, could ask you to maybe think about subscribing to the channel. It really does help us a lot, and if you hit that little notification bell, then we'll let you know every time there's a new video being put up. So other than that, continue to enjoy your winter, enjoy everything about it, enjoy this cold spell that I think the Daily Express has, you know, given its annual headline, "The big beast from the east is coming soon." So make the most of it. Don't fear it. Make the most of it. And remember, enjoy your camper van. See you next time.